On this Saturday morning, the hunt for a local bank robber. The man claims to be armed and the FBI is worried he could strike again. After nearly 2 weeks, an arrest in connection with a deadly bombing at a shrine in Bangkok. And people in Florida are raiding store shelves for supplies as Tropical Storm Erica heads towards their show.
Live from the Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is KCAL 9 News at 7 a.m. Live, local, late breaking.
Good Saturday morning to you. Look at that sunshine. Nice and bright already. And yeah, it already looks a little hot out there on this 29th day of August. But we are glad that you're starting it out with us. And we hope that you are staying cool this morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm Amy Johnson.
And I'm Louisa Hodge. Yeah, we're certainly going to feel the heat once again today. Temperatures will be a few degrees cooler.
Okay.
But you know what? We're not going to feel much of it. It's still going to feel hot out there. Your high temperatures or your current temperatures right now in the 70s already. So 71 degrees into the basin, 73 in Van Nuys in Ontario, about 68 degrees in Oceanside, and Palm Springs about 87 degrees right now. As we take it through hour by hour, by about the 10 o'clock hour, we should warm into the 80s in downtown. And we're bringing back those 90s. 90 degrees expected for noontime, 91 for an afternoon high. But in the next couple of days, we'll certainly notice some changes. In fact, you can see even over into tomorrow, we're going to notice the temperatures coming down a bit, easing up back down into the 80s. And we're going to continue with that cooling trend as we head on through the week. I'll have more in your full forecast coming up.
All right. Thank you, Louisa. New this morning, Thai police arrested a man in connection with a deadly shrine bombing that killed 20 people. Investigators say the suspect is a foreigner. Some Thai news stations have reported that he is Turkish. The suspect is accused of attacking a popular shrine in central Bangkok earlier this month. 120 people were injured. Security video shows the man leaving a backpack at the blast site. Police say they found bomb-making material in the suspect's apartment. And the hunt is on for a possible serial bank robber in Orange County. KCAL 9's Adriana Weingold is live in Santa Ana where the latest bank heist happened. Adriana.
Well, good morning, Amy. Certainly some tense moments for tellers here in Orange County. Not sure if and when this serial bank robber could hit again. Now, we want to show you a map of where these incidents happened. The first happened at a farmers and merchant bank on East Catella Avenue in Orange. The second happened at the Bank of the West on East Memory Lane in Santa Ana. Now, in both robberies, the FBI says the suspect slipped the teller a note saying he had a gun, asking for 50s and 100s. Now, this was all captured on security video. We want to show you that right now. The suspect is described as a white male, 20 to 25 years old, about 5'10", with a slender build. Now, in both cases, he was wearing eyeglasses and dark clothing. Now, back out here live, if you have any information about either of these robberies, the FBI and the Orange County Sheriff's Department would like to hear from you. For now, we are live in Santa Ana. Adriana Weingold, KCAL 9 News.
And we are following more developing news. Tropical Storm Erica is battering the Caribbean and is headed towards Florida. KCAL 9's David Begnaud shows us the trail of damage and destruction the storm has left behind.
Erica is moving through the Caribbean. The storm caused massive flooding when it hit the island of Dominica on Thursday. Mudslides wiped out homes and roads. More than a dozen people are dead and more are missing. CBS News producer Deidre Robinson is in the capital.
People have lost their homes and properties and lives to the landslides, and much of the island does not have power at all.
Erica hit Puerto Rico on Friday and slashed the Dominican Republic with heavy rain and 50-mile-per-hour winds. People in Florida are lining up for gasoline, food, and water as Erica barrels toward the U.S.
You never know. That's the truth. Only the big guy up there.
The storm is expected to reach Florida's Gulf Coast by Monday.
The main thing, this is not going to be much of a wind event as it's going to be a rain event and a wet storm.
The governor is warning residents who may be feeling complacent. This is a storm they need to take seriously.
Think about your parents, your siblings, your kids, your grandkids, and say, how do I get them ready? Do I have enough water? Do I have enough food? Is there medicines I might need?
Florida's governor has already declared a state of emergency.
That was David Begnaud reporting. Now, there's a chance that Erica could die down. The U.S. National Hurricane Center in Miami said that mountains and unfavorable environment would likely knock Erica below tropical storm force. but there's a small chance it could recover as it moves through Cuba. We are following developing news from Houston, Texas. The search for a shooter is underway after a sheriff's deputy appeared to be targeted and gunned down. Authorities say Deputy Darren Goforth was shot and killed while he was pumping gas last night. The gunman walked up behind the deputy and opened fire. When the officer fell to the ground, the suspect allegedly fired even more shots. Deputy Goforth was a 10-year veteran of the force and leaves behind a wife and 2 children.
I have been in law enforcement 45 years. I don't recall another incident this cold-blooded and cowardly. It strikes us in the heart to simply be a target because you wear a badge and for no other reason hits you where you live.
Pictures off a security camera show the suspect. He's been described as a dark-skinned man in his early 20s. He was seen driving a red or maroon-colored pickup truck with an extended cab. Today marks 1 decade since Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast. Millions of people were displaced, and now 10 years later, some areas have yet to fully recover. KCAL 9's Weijia Jiang joins us live from New Orleans. Good morning, Weijia.
Hey, good morning to you and good morning to everybody. The mayor says New Orleans is America's comeback city, and there certainly are signs of progress everywhere. Tourism is booming, the new levee system is strong, and the city's culture is thriving. But still, a decade later, some families are struggling.
If time heals all wounds.
I just got on my knees and just prayed to God, please save us, you know.
Lydia Pelabon needs more of it. She was trapped on a hospital roof for 5 days during Hurricane Katrina. Then she couldn't find her family for 2 months.
I never thought I was going to ever see my mama.
Eventually reunited, they took refuge in nearby cities, including Atlanta, but longed to go home to the lower 9th Ward. It took 7 years.
It felt so good.
Volunteers helped build a new house for Lydia's mom, Bernice, but the 79-year-old says she's never felt so lonely.
You used to sit on your porch, you know, and see people passing by and talking to you and everything. But you don't see that no more.
Thousands of people have not returned to neighborhoods like the lower 9th Ward. Many houses had been passed down for generations and paid off. Without mortgages, owners were not required to have flood insurance.
I lost my way of life.
Ronald Lewis not only found his way back,
Clear out or else.
he found a way to remember those who did not. Lewis opened a small museum in his backyard. Treasures found in post-storm wreckage fill a metal warehouse.
People came and donated the thing because they wanted to be part of something that said, this is ours. And I made my contribution.
Pelabon wishes she could make a different kind of contribution.
If I was a millionaire, I'd build their homes back for them. I'll help them.
Even if the Pelabons don't have neighbors, at least they have each other.
And the city is back up to about 80% of its pre-Katrina population, and the mayor recently went to Atlanta and Houston, telling people who are still displaced he promises to help them come home. Amy?
And we know that you've been there for more than a month, certainly focusing on New Orleans, but what about some of the other surrounding areas that were impacted by Hurricane Katrina?
Yeah, here in New Orleans, it was a man-made catastrophe, right? There was flooding because the levees failed, but in other parts, especially in Mississippi, it was the brunt of the powerful winds and storm surge that really wiped some of those towns nearly off the map. Surprisingly, they are also doing really well. They look like bustling beach towns, but there are so many vacant lots and properties where people have not been able to come back and rebuild because it is expensive and also because of soaring insurance prices. So those families there are still waiting as well. Still so much progress to celebrate 10 years later.
All right, Weijia Jiang, thanks so much joining us live from New Orleans this morning. And thousands of people who moved out of New Orleans never went back. Some found their way to Southern California, and KCAL 9's Erica Knocklin spoke with a Katrina survivor who decided to stay.
He may live in Sherman Oaks now.
I guess I'll always be an ambassador of New Orleans, if nothing else.
But Terry McGahay will always have a piece of New Orleans close to his heart, or should I say stomach.
Fellow New Orleanian, close friend, and this is our dinner tonight, red beans and rice.
He spent 5 decades in New Orleans.
I just made my 53rd birthday about 5 days before Katrina.
Before 1 week on a roof changed everything.
You know, we were never in danger of drowning, but we reached a point where when the water came up, then all of our vehicles went under. So then we were trapped even after the storm.
He was trapped on the 4th floor and flat top of Holy Cross School where he worked at the time.
It was concerning, to say the least.
The brick building is still in ruins today. He remembers using a bed sheet to signal for help, and he remembers when a boat finally came.
He says he was asked to visit the 3 Holy Cross schools on the West Coast and ended up here at Notre Dame High School, along with 9 students who were also displaced by Katrina.
To let the students who were here know that they weren't forgotten.
The school system quickly set him up with a house, and he stayed.
One of my friends from New Orleans said, well, when are you coming home? And I told him, I am home.
A new home filled with old habits.
My secret weapon that you cannot find anywhere in LA.
For 10 years and counting.
Out here.
In Sherman Oaks, Erica Knocklin, KCAL 9 News.
Well, it was once the cat's meow. Coming up, we're going inside the LA estate once owned by a feline. And an apology wasn't enough. What's next for the group of women who were kicked off the Napa wine train for laughing too loud? And families say it's been a problem for a while now. Johns, prostitutes, and pimps busted in one Southland neighborhood.